United States, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ryan Rogerson,
Here.
Evan Keeney,
Here.
Alan Schneider,
Here.
Lois Schneider, here, Kevin Mills.
Here. Got a quorum and we will move on to approval. Comment on the agenda.
The comment would be the Washington County Sheriff's Department report. It's gonna kind of float depending on when Lieutenant Ellis will be here. He's at the Kelowna meeting right now since they moved their meeting time, and then he'll be here after that. So that could move around. I think
Talk for a while.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Make a motion to approve consent. Second. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Next up is the public forum. Do you have anyone wishing to speak in the public forum this evening? On to item 6 on the agenda, our Riverside single golfer.
Thanks for having me. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. Well, for the record, I'm Damon John, General Manager of Riverside Casino and Golf Resort. Just wanted to share a few updates with all of you. Last week, we concluded another great year for the National Disabled Veterans Golf Clinic. It's our largest group that we have on an annual basis. They take all 201 of our hotel rooms. This year, they had a very special guest. The Secretary of the VA was in attendance for the welcome ceremony on Sunday. So I think he might be number 16 on the succession list. I have to check Google for that, but top 20 for sure. So that was very exciting. Some stats from this year's event: 214 veterans were on property, including 45 women, which is the most ever for female veterans. 35 states were represented this year, and veterans ranged from 27 to 94 years of age. Took 410 volunteers to make the event happen, and many of those volunteers came from Riverside and surrounding areas, in addition to our wonderful employees. 410 volunteers throughout the week. That was breakfast starting at 6 a.m., dinners at 6 p.m., and then shuttling those veterans all around town. So quite the event every single year. It's one of our favorites, and we are happy to support the veterans of our great nation. August 2nd, we held our outdoor concert, the first outdoor concert, large scale outdoor concert since prior to COVID. 2019 was our last one. And, this year came back with a bang on August 2nd. We had Travis Tritt and Aaron Lewis perform, and there were 3,700 people in attendance, which was beyond our expectations for the event. And had a little bit of rust with certain things, but nothing that guests noticed. There was all that kind of stuff, but everything went really smoothly, and they are planning on doing more outdoor shows next year, at least 2 of them. Just put in offers for those already. So those offers went in at the end of last week. And then earlier this year in spring, our team won the Give Back Iowa Volunteer Challenge for the 8th straight year. It's a 2-month competition that takes place every April and May in the state of Iowa. And businesses are broken down into different categories based on their size. So we won the medium-sized category this year for the 8th straight year. And what that means basically is that on a per employee basis, our employees volunteer more than any other medium-sized business in the state. So they break it down by hours divided by miles. Very proud of our team for that. I've got some upcoming concerts to share with you. Some of these are announced to the public, some of them are not, so you'll be the first to hear about it. Eli Young Band is this Friday. And we have Brett Michaels in October, Starship featuring Ted East in November. Terry Fader is also in November, Winona Judd in December. Fits in the Tantrums is coming in January, that's not announced yet. There's a comedy show called Donnie Baker and Friends Memorial Comedy Show. It's a Bob and Tom show, if you remember Donnie Baker from that show. Dane Cook is coming the day before Valentine's Day, comedian that is not announced to the public yet. Our Valentine's show is Warrant and Firehouse. Get your tickets fast to that one because that is almost sold out. Skillet will be coming in March. That's a rock show that's not announced yet. Seven Dust is in April. And then we just announced Jeff Foxworthy today on their Facebook page. They'll be at the resort in June. And then aside from that, planning on New Year's Eve already. And then also, as I mentioned before, putting in some offers for concerts for next summer. So, and then next year, we're looking to have a record year at Blue Top Ridge. If you haven't heard yet, Fink Buying in Iowa City is closing for the entire season next year to do some upgrades. And just to put it into perspective, how many phone calls we received to book events. I think we had 31 group sales golf outings, charity golf outings, those sorts of events this year. And we're already at 32 booked for next year. And September's not even over yet. So it's there'll be a lot of events at Blue Top for next year. Also a lot of public. So people are trying to book their tea times already for next June. So yeah. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those to the rest of my ability. I'm also on your view.
What year is it? Maybe the, how many years have we done the veterans?
Every year since 08, I believe. The double check and start. It's changed names a couple of times, but
Listen,
a long time. We do have a fresh agreement signed with them that'll put them here through 2029.
Any other questions? Thanks for the update, Dan. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for looking at
thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So we'll come back to the sheriff's department. You'll see it. Marcus, do you have any?
Yeah.
You want to?
Sure, thank you, appreciate that. Hopefully, Nathan Schmucker is gonna be coming, sure, or did he come last meeting?
He did.
Okay, so he's been coming around, giving a church. Tonight. He's understanding my guy that's kind of been, if I share on that, so he's been, you make that weekend. Just get a bit on, the courthouse. We should be 100% complete, next week. So the county attorney can move back into his office, hopefully by the end of next week, for sure. Moving forward, we're going to move down all that week on the 30th. Then we got a little bit of things to clean up, but then that should be 100% by hopefully the first week of posted. Yeah, so now we've got building 2 renovated, building 3 renovated, the courthouse renovated, and then the engineer's office is coming right along. They're planning on December to December 15th. Everything out, but they're planning to be sooner rather than later, hopefully in November. So, let's get this. Other than that, a whole lot to report. I think Blue Top Ridge is a fantastic golf course. It's cultured and diet, and for mostly charity events. So that's any questions or? Sure. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, continuing on down the agenda, then we've got a weekday. It's this finance years. Hello? And it's.
Maybe. Big check in here with the feeling. here. I spoke with Cole, and it sounds like there were a few questions after you looked over the proposal from the system last time. So, Cole, that'll be good if we can now and have some discussion with you. As we recall, about a year ago, we put together a request to send out the Board of Control Integrators, working for their call locations, their availability, their rates, and so forth. And after looking at that, we felt that other next systems that the best combination there after certain city as a partner going forward, and then now to come in, work with our electric and controls engineering, put together a package for them to deal with some of the big or aging equipment that is obsolete now, the PLCs and some of the stuff that is required in order to be able to get everything you talked about. To run plants, to indicate to be able to make it visible on mobile device outside so that service can remotely operate and so forth. So we looked at a bunch of different levels and decided on a package that was for the middle of the road, but getting a lot of flexibility and would also take care of a lot of that outdated equipment. So on-site systems put that together. I think Jake's on the call too, if there are any questions from him. But I thought it would be good to break this down a little bit. Everybody will get down into the detailed breakdown of different components. So again, this out, it's a breakdown that looks at the labor and the equipment, the two different categories. Give you a little bit better idea of what the cost is going to waste. So this is a little bit easier to follow. I know there was a lot of information in one they could provide earlier, but the basic categories are the wastewater plant, the water plant, and the system control and that acquisition SCADA system. So when you look at it like this, the material is broken out on the left and the labor in the center, and then the total on the right. And if you get down to the bottom, you can see the materials are just under half the total cost. So I don't know if that helps with the discussion or not, but that's pretty much, if you're looking at the Allen Bradley equipment that we're putting in here, the software that we need in order for this to operate and so forth. That is what I would consider relatively fixed for what we're looking to put in there. That's the type of equipment we want to put in, the operating system we want to use gets us up and operating. So then we're looking at the labor cost. That is about 120,000. Jake, I don't know if you went through much explanation on this, but there's a lot of development that goes into this behind the scenes before they even bring the equipment on site and try to get it on. And then they have to keep the existing equipment running while we're trying to new stuff in place. They have to be out there to make sure that it's talking properly, troubleshoot it. So there's a lot of time that goes into this, not only on site, but before they get to put the control system together, make sure everything's compatible, bench tested, and have everything go. So looking at this, that labor cost, what I've seen on recent projects, I just did those small work projects with some controls, and we'll be them down to about $150,000 for that with the VFD and the control manual. So you take the materials out. This is a very competitive price for all of the stuff that we're looking to do down there. So I'll be happy to go through in more detail, but I think when we made the decision about a year ago, what we're really looking for is a qualified integrator that will be able to come in and be responsive to the city's needs. If there are emergencies that come up, they're going to be able to respond pretty quickly. They have a staff to deal with, and they're not going to charge you over the month. So again, when we made that selection, then we've asked them to put together a package, and that's the breakdown before you. So there are some concerns, and we'd be happy to talk through that with you. To see if we can get to the point where we feel comfortable with this.
Dave, where we ended up last time was, so we went through the RFP process. The automatic system was selected based off of the qualifications we went through there, and their proximity to be able to, their labor hours for what they would charge for service, their proximity to service locations, all of those things were a part of the decision. I think the sticking point City Council had last time we reviewed it was simply verifying the material costs, just to make sure that what we would be paying for those that portion of the project is reasonable or at a price that is competitive and comparable with other vendors. Just because of when you have a kind of a sole source vendor on a project, we want to be, at least have some kind of verification to make sure what we're being charged is competitive. And I guess in this case, your position is the engineer of the project, if able to, I guess, provide some input on that, I think that would be helpful, but.
And again, there was a big breakdown that was put together, that's part of the information you have currently, but, that was on March 12th, 2025 overview. Where they went through and identified what was all included in here. And it's shown on here, the ground control inland wastewater plant, that's pretty robust. Piece of equipment, there's a lot of things going on out at that wastewater plant and monitoring. Good control and communication over the gas detection system that's in here, that's about $12,000. That's a city. You go into a wastewater facility with design standards, you don't get lots of that has to be done. These gas systems, even though they are expensive, they're a necessity. When you look at what I want to see in those, that's a safety issue. You want to make sure that the gas is at the depth of or the oil oxygen level, or some of the people want to find that, especially these guys that have been doing data plan checks. They rely on this stuff to be able to ensure that they have to circulate the environment. Safety is always a very high priority when we get these sort of issues, and I would not recommend skipping on that. The temperature transmitter, about $80. Again, the material's not much, trying to get that brought in and put in the system. That's just something that tells you if the heater's quit or let's say powered up, something going on. You don't want things to freeze up in there that you never wonder and create worse problems. So that's a relatively inexpensive insurance policy that give a certain level. You have a warning that temperatures are dropping. You need to get out and try to figure out what's going on, and try to address that before getting the problem. So in my opinion, that's a good investment. We get to the water plant again, the water control center panel that's out there. That one we are looking at again. We have one put out there. We know that's obsolete. If you try to replace that PLC that's in there, you're going on the secondary market. You're trying to find something that's easy, that's available, that you can put in and rely on it to work. If we're going to update the rest of the system, it seems like that's something we want to take care of now as we go to expand or try to interface with other pieces of equipment. It's a different communication network on the mode. We're going up to an Ethernet system now, and this one doesn't work on the older system, which is a hardware system. So we want to make sure that we can communicate with everything, and that 69,000 gets us up to a current maintaining the system that's going to work well. So it's a pretty large item with the cost, but when you look at again materials on this PLCs and the relays and stuff like that, that's a fair price for something. You see it's going in systems and really is the preferred system, the compact logics processors. That's what they run. And I would even say, just talking to Jake recently, we know that there are a lot of cost escalators going on. We get quotes from people, and they say that if certain tariffs go into effect, and the price will definitely make a difference. We spoke a little bit about this afternoon because this quote is a little bit older. It's a few months old in this past. What the date was on there, but Jake's still going to honor that if we can get to a decision. So I would say that the elevated storage tank, again, same thing. It's a small controller out there, but it's out of date. Who wants that on the system and communicate on the same network and be able to talk? We're going to get that processor put in place. Again, that's just there's not much we can skimp on when we talk about buying these processors. Now and there, they have a cost, and it's kind of like Apple. They wonder that iPhone is worth, or in this case, that processor is worth. So I don't see a lot of room there to move the level sensors. Once again, we could put those in the wells if we want to see what the drawdown is. There is a cost I put on the side there of a plus for the install. If we go to do this, automated system is not a contractor that doesn't want to dig in the conduit to get out to the well to run people through there and pull that wire. So there's going to be an electrical contractor that has to do that. But, for the level sensors that we're putting in and, to get those rolling on the system and tie in, that's what that's in there for. So not a lot of fluff on that. The workstations, we talked a little bit about this. We've got two different, communication packages in there. One of them is, a Wonderware package. Wonderware is proprietary. That's these, water wastewater systems run on. There's a few others, agricultural and things that you can use. But, this particular, system is what most control integrators are familiar with. So if you have somebody else come in and they had to work on it, they would understand this pretty well. They do training for that. There's a computer involved in this as well. And then there's the hardware to be able to, make this talk to the mobile devices. So you have that VPN that they have to put in here also. So you can buy those different software packages together for the VPN and the Wonderware and put the computer in. That's where the materials cost comes in. It's not the standard desktop. We're probably talking on $3,500 desktop computer here. And then there's some peripheral devices that go with that as well. Software cost is up there.
And the software license is for outbound, is there any little component to that?
I believe that, Jake, you recall, was that a 1 year? That was on that?
So this isn't, it's a live stream, not a
Oh,
call, so he won't be able to answer here.
How many users are they for that software?
For the Wonderware, there's a, one runtime license for operation for the workstation, but you can have critical devices.
That might be like a free year. I have to look.
Yeah.
I saw one on there.
Okay,
That's,
yeah,
that's what I do.
I see a list specifically in here. There's a, let's see. You know, let's see that it's got a list on here, but that's it's on that, yeah.
How about like updates to the system and over that term, will automated systems be handling that
Yes.
process of there's a clear maintenance or, you know, what kind of review for that is included in the, or is there additional costs associated with that?
To get the system up and operational is, I believe, what this current, what is formally asking for it, and then additional proposal was their hourly rates for ongoing service.
Okay,
So we can take a look at that. If something with tomorrow, let's say there's something out that required on time or on-site time to do something in order to upgrade the devices to get there's some patches or something like that. Yeah, if they can't do it remotely and have to show up and they don't know what that's going to be or other plan necessarily.
okay.
So that's why we were asking for, when we put together the proposal. Populous, you know, that can be nearby, what's your cost now over the communities.
David, we need to enter into like, I don't know, after this project's done, looking at like a longer term maintenance agreement or contract, for those, maintenance services.
I'm sure that they would be able to draft something like that. It's not included in here, but you would be able to,
Okay. Yep.
If you wanted to do a certain period of time. And,
I was more concerned just making sure that, you know, we were able to lock in pricing for so long and if it made sense to do so, but we can talk with Jake and his team after that.
Just a general estimate of how long we should expect this system to last. Obviously, technology changes and maybe we're gonna look like this.
so the older system that's in there, the 500 series, Bradley processors, those have been in place for quite a while. Just in the following this, and they decided to retire those as well. Then, without knowing for sure what that's going to be, they'll tell you like the micrologics, for example. That's a very small one, 1400 series. Those are starting to phase out. That is what they told us. But that's going to be a period where they get to that point. And they'll still be some stuff. And you have the guy over here that sells those, but the compact logics and that is expected to are still in the same pieces of the processor.
Compact is
still stay what we're recommending on, whether it's a wastewater treatment plant or, even factory, or we, property living. We're getting towards the 11th hour on changing all their slicks, is what they used to call what we have out. Zero water supported. Yeah, can you go near the gray market one that's rebuilt? Yes. Is it a good idea? No. There's no support. You out in the middle of the night, you call out Rockwell Automation, say you're having this problem, Rockwell's gonna tell you. Say for us.
Are we talking like 10 years, 15 years?
Yeah, so I think you're asking how long the compact platform is going to be available and be supported.
Well, I understand, what types of. And you're investment, 15 investment.
So
You know, like, it's.
if you look at the existing plant built in 2007, instead of on the soy processors, that's 18 years. Yes, that you would think that that would be roughly the area that that's something technology is involved.
Yeah, and in Rockwell won't say.
And I say this is the solution right now, but it's what we want to use, but it's.
Our best indication is looking at the previous systems that they have.
Yeah, I think it's taken them 7 to 10 minutes to start phasing.
Dave, I had another question on, so say at the water treatment plant, we decide to add a fourth RO skid there. Would it be pretty easy for us to tie in that into this existing system, or would there be a substantial upgrading to be able to accommodate that?
So you would need another processor for them, or else you'd process. And that would probably be as part of that package that Barn would provide to you. And then you would just have to interface with the Ethernet communication with these new processors. You would be able to programming up and add it on to the general control screen, and there's integration time that's going to be allowed.
I guess of the question that we left off last time with wanting to verify pricing or feel a bit more comfortable with it, I guess, and the competitiveness of that, are there any further questions on that for Dave? Because I think that was kind of the sticking point we had last time. We just wanted to make sure the pricing we were getting was fair. And is there any questions on that aspect of it for Dave?
Yeah, so if I understood you right, you said this is comparable to pricing.
Yeah, so I've seen some stuff recently that is much smaller in scope. For almost similar. Yeah, what we're seeing, they are able to charge quite a bit more for this. It's competitive. There are controllers to do water and wastewater, and both others do that. Because you can really see high prices coming on and stuff. It's difficult to predict that some things that it's something that doesn't have to. It's really the price really low. We're trying to get in and establish a relationship. Other times, you've got somebody that's in full work and you still want them to do the project.
Also, we have I believe, let me check real quick. I budgeted for the materials, labor, and engineering costs together. It was about $300,000 this project for water and wastewater together. So we do have that for this project.
Automatic systems, although not my customer personally, they are the very large customer of Rockwell Automation. I can assure you that the pricing is going to be on point with anybody in the nation. Rockwell Automation is territorial. It can only be sold by certain distributors in certain locations. And Automatic System has a very good relationship with that distributor. You're not gonna be able to go on and zoning find it. It's just not gonna, it's not wrong.
The two installs, like, do you have a guesstimate of what that is to the total price? I know you said it was for electric ones, one, but,
Right,
oh,
so,
yeah, detective, that's, guesstimate.
yeah, the gas detectors aren't that far away from where the other panel is going to be, in the wastewater. So the one looking at so much on the well, one of the wells is quite a ways away from the water lines. Or as well, the so obviously they bring electrician in if you're, somewhere in that, $3,500 to $5,000 range, I would expect that for the gas detectors. If you're looking at wells, that's gonna be a little bit more, just because of the distance to get out to that section.
You might talk in 10, 15 now.
To order the equipment, depending upon the order times for it, so some of the stuff can take a while. I would say that if we could get this up and operational in 9 to 12 months, that's probably the time frame that I would expect. But again, it just depends on the availability of the area. That could be more.
Any other questions?
Yes, follow-up action on this. If council is comfortable with it and would recommend it, we can get this on next council meeting for an award of contract.
Yeah, I want to grab, these the.
Yep.
There.
But yeah, more than that. Dave, the only thing I found there for you was sewer repairs. I know we just entered into a PSA for to work on a RFP for those. Sure you guys haven't gotten too much into that yet, but I don't know if you had anything tonight to mention to city council.
I've got a set of plans for you to take a look over, it's just taking the proposals that were, there from CIT and put them on a map so that we can start to evaluate those. And what I would do is, probably come down, sit down with you, look this over. There's some questions on the system to make sure we have accurate information. Some usually pipes going into, 12-inch pipes, things like that. Just want to make sure the system is correct. But we'll put something out and then alongside of the repairs and whatnot. And then the other thing we want to take a look at is there are a lot of really short repairs that have 10 footers here. We want to take a look at that analyzing, so we're trying to get that information from CIP. So we can review what's upstream and downstream of there. With the pipe size, it's a little bit smaller, we've got one work going in services. And we've got small point repairs, and that's going to cost a fair amount. And we could put a little bit more in it and get that pipe size updated to match what's upstream and downstream of it. That might be the time to make that investment. Just what we need to find it and get that fixed. Ironically, we have to pass the stream and downstream rather than put a bunch of it. May not be suitable for future use. So those are the next questions I have for you. And Brian and I, and you can sit down and talk through that, try to figure out our approach on it. But that would be the proposals they put together in a much more understandable format so we can see what's going on in the system.
Appreciate that. I do think so CAT, we're looking to have them back this fall again, so probably November. So I think we should probably meet sooner than later just to see which areas we would need to get more information on, so when they're in town we can get those televised and get that information for you.
Some verification work is fine for you and everything.
Yes.
Let's try to get that meeting set up and go through it and then give them some direction. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Dave.
County Sheriff's.
Oh, yeah. So for Riverside, last month, we had 108, calls for service, 59 traffic stops. Same time last year was 64. Probably on Friday, you may have heard about it. We did a saturation project or a multi-jurisdictional project down on 218 and 22. It was, county deputies, city officers, state patrol, and we had an aircraft up, for catching speeders on 218. So that was a really good project. Put the team together and stopped a lot of cars, made a lot of contacts. So that was pretty good. You guys didn't hear about that. It was on fire. So, other than that, just getting a lot of OWIs off the streets. Our guys are getting after it pretty hard. A lot of drugs, OWIs, so a lot of good stops. And also tonight is Deputy Nathan Schmucker. He's been with us for 17 years. He's a new emergency management coordinator for Washington County. So he's a deputy, still a deputy. He's also doing emergency management. So I brought him along tonight to introduce him to the city council so you know who he is. If you have any questions about emergency management, he's the expert. Welcome.
I wouldn't go right expert.
So, yeah, if you, I don't have any business cards enough to hand out for everybody, but if you go to our website or the sheriff's app, you can acquire our email address or telephone number, it's on there, and emails, phone calls, text, whatever, with my cell phone, so I'll be able to see them right away and give you an answer if I can figure it out.
Will there be any changes to I guess how emergency management is operating? Before there was the board, and now this is what is it going to operate the same? It's just you're going to be shared between the sheriff's department and emergency management, or how is that going to operate?
With respect to the county of Washington County, when they're into a community agreement with the EMA commission.
Okay.
And so the commission is still with the code, so they still have all the say on everything. I have a direct supervisor, whereas before it was going to the commission maybe every month, I would say.
Yep.
Whereas this one, it's a check in every 2 weeks, meeting on how things are going, and we're establishing what things need to be done, aggressive and triage type of, but nothing changes in regards to the job description, just adding another layer onto the patrol deputy situation. So we have the patrol deputy, which is for almost the foundation, and then like before I was a canine handler, and so I was a patrol, but also ran the canine for 10 years. This is the same similar mission of patrol, but also running many under sheriff.
Okay. Hopefully it ends up where there's more support needed for emergency management, where I know Martha was kind of there by herself sometimes, and I think having an extra layer of support would be helpful for those goals for the county. So I think hopefully we'll try to be a good part, yes.
I think it's a good decision on behalf of the county and especially the commission and the rest of the division and guidance from both the commission and the sheriff was greatly appreciated, and I think is a definitely positive thing.
If everyone, one thing, just driving around town, see regular park in the street. And most of them don't have the rail block and they're on side hills. Is there anything you guys can do on that?
Yeah, we've been discussing that about the city ordinance for the trailers. We discussed that a couple weeks ago. We have to revisit that as far as your city ordinance goes.
Yeah. So before I left for vacation, I think Chad, you were on vacation when I texted you about the trailers on the street. But I guess I was under the impression that parking trailers on the street was against our city ordinances. After looking through it a bit more thoroughly, neither Chad or I could find anything that indicated that parking a trailer on the street was against our city ordinance. What we did find is if it's connected to your vehicle, part of say you have construction materials on it or something like that, you can only park there for so long. But actually parking the trailer on the street, as far as what I was able to find, there's nothing on there that directly says that's against it. So That would be an update to our parking ordinance that we would need to do.
They're unattached.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and just driving around, I see like
Yeah.
4 or 5 easily to
Yeah.
include campers, parking on the street unattached. So it's probably an ordinance you gotta get, in place, then we can do our thing and enforce those ordinances, but yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of other towns do have an ordinance that states that, just, we don't, I want to hear.
Yes. I can work with Dan on getting that amendment drafted and then we can attach it on as we're going to do lately do a lot of ordinance updates. So
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, just driving around town, you can find a handful, yeah.
This morning, I took the bring it to Google, and there's only one way to go. And there's cars like parked on the side of the road, so people like going down and they treat. And the crossing guard did say that that's kind of a continuing parking situation there. So I just didn't know, and there's a few other places in town where they park on the wrong way and stuff.
Lois, all right, so are you saying parked on the wrong side of the street in a no parking area or like facing the wrong direction? Facing wrong, okay, not facing the flow of traffic. Okay,
Yeah, the driver's side tires on her.
yes,
So the passenger side.
that
Yeah, I'll put that out for the patrol guys to look at that in the mornings.
that would be.
Okay. All right.
I gotta add one in. So as soon as school started and stuff and everything, the whole Clifford, some of the other side of the street, Blackberry stop sign. And it's mostly all residential that I've watched. The speeding and running the stop sign. That. Well, the signs don't mean anything anymore. They blow right through it and stuff, but the parking deals are another issue too. I've asked probably 3 people off of Clifford that have brought stuff to me. You can call your sheriff department and put in your complaint. It would probably be as good as anything. Cole might get some, but I've asked them, so I don't know if you're getting calls or not, but I encourage it to folks and stuff that just about any night during the week, the speeding, and the running the stop sign every day.
Okay.
On Clifford.
You clumper and it's not three-way stops.
Well,
Buckeye.
yeah, Clifford and Blackberry. So Clifford stops going both ways, and then Blackberry comes up too, so it's 3-way stop. Either way, going north and south on Clifford, that's they blow right through it, pretty much. Or it's a 8-mile-an-hour roll through, something like it's. People are complaining about it. That's why I asked him, well, I'm just Joe Citizen, whatever, so.
No.
Call your sheriff's department.
Yeah, no, that's not.
I know I asked last time, but have you got any feedback on if there's any specific times of day that would be helpful for them for?
Like I said, just about anything you need. Probably when people are getting home from work, but during school, when they start picking up and cars are starting to line and the street, the wrong way parking goes, the parking on Cherry Lane, there's usually 2 or 3 there. The crossing guards, I believe, have asked them to move on and find another place. But as everybody's pulling out and going, and then whatever goes on, or if there's a function at the school, it's nuts. As everybody leaves, SUV after SUV, probably in the, I don't know, 5:36 to 7 time frame. There's a lot of traffic up there. Pick a night, especially if there's a school function going on.
Okay. I pass that on. This question is for you and for you, Chad. I'm not sure what the preferred reporting method for that. Do we want citizens calling a non-emergency number to report that, or are they calling city hall?
I don't really hardly get any calls. Well, I would say the primary complaints I'll get will be after the fact of peddlers or solicitors in town, and it's after the fact they're already gone. And it's people who don't have license for it. So traffic violations, stuff like that, don't really get a whole lot of complaints other than occasionally on Sycamore for like overweight vehicles, but that's really kind of tapered off the last few months. So yeah, I don't get a whole lot of calls.
Sheriff's office perspective, I'll say the same.
Yeah, I would say yes. If they're sitting there parked and they're, they can tell us this car is parked there and it's parked the wrong direction on a license plate, we can have the plate, have the information, and we can address that for the person.
Yeah.
So we can have it connected, yeah. Might even put an email out to the guys for the morning patrol, the evening patrol stuff, they can understand the fact that this is a concern, and they can kind of, look a little bit closer to those areas.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you. It's very. Alright. Yeah, you're on next. People see it. Good evening. Yeah, right.
Yeah, both people service. So a couple water things. USG, is that we got a contract with the water tower, they got both of us. They were gonna do a washout. We held off on the washout. They have another way of just kind of getting in there and inspecting it. They got a little drone submarine thing, which I thought was kind of cool. So that we're gonna video it and inspect the inside for a water tower here in the next couple of weeks. We've been doing water main valve, this sections of valve cycling that should be done probably tomorrow. And then next week, we're planning on doing the water areas to flush them. Most likely in just a few days, but we just put it in for all week. What happens. At first initial round of that PFAS, whatever, I don't know, it's back on the technical, good.
It's not expected with reverse osmosis method of treatment that we should be able to get. Yeah.
Wastewater the other day, the plant showed me it was working right, but it wasn't working right. And it was something with SCADA, one of the little PLC cards had failed, and it was a signal that was supposed to convert, I think 420 to 110 or whatever, I think is what it was. So then the plant was telling it in one thing, well, the conversion little thing didn't do it. So the screen, the SCADA screen told me everything was on and the plant was running fine. And I went outside and looked at the thing, and the float had already tripped to tell it to decant, and it wasn't decanting. And then it said the SPR pumps were supposed to be on, and they weren't physically on. So I turned the pump on and turned it off, and it was working on the panel. So I called Automatic Systems. They drove from Ames, found that fault. We were lucky that they had a spare. So then he drove back halfway and met a guy and came back and fixed it. In the long run, he was, I think, a little impressed that I wasn't freaking out. But I knew that, so like in our SBR tanks, they're 25 feet deep or whatever. And that first float is way, way, way below anything I would ever worry about, like the plant overflowing. So it filled up a couple more feet than what it usually did. So nothing harmed. I just had to manually turn on the DO pumps or the blowers. You can just keep the DO up in there a couple of times and then you got it switched out. So that was kind of reiterate Dave's. He said I could find those on eBay. I guess we can get extra ones in the future. And I talked to Steve about it, and he's like, I mean, this is extremely rare that we've had a failure like this, but if it were to happen again, it's just, it's out of my realm of being able to fix. So I had to call emergency automatic systems guy to come in. And he was here for probably 5 hours. But it got fixed, and it wasn't the biggest deal in the world, but it's kind of hard stuff is getting a little clearer and also at the waste plant, the garage door isn't opening. I had overhead door come in and look at it. So they replaced the door last year, but they didn't replace the controller. And now the controller, I'm just assuming it's just caustic environment and that's getting cruddy in the thing. He tried to replace a couple wires, ended up not working. So he sent us a quote today of some, the same nice tight protected garage door opener that's designed for, humid and caustic areas or whatever. It's a little bit more expensive, but he just sent that to me today, so we're gonna get it on the.
Jed, I also think it's important to remember that I'm not sure how long, but that opener that I guess has now failed.
That was probably.
It was in there without the air handler, I guess running for so long before that, I guess a couple years ago when we got all of that stuff back operational again. I'm not sure how long it was down, but obviously it wasn't in a good environment for
Right.
a period of time, but it still needs to be replaced. So we'll have that. It's outside of what
Yeah,
I think Alan,
$5,700, I think.
so
Some big fancy one that should last again, out of, we have air moving around in there better.
Should be class 1 to 2.
It was,
I'll check it later.
something 7.
And you stuff.
That's all right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep, NEMA 7. Yeah, I don't know. It was.
We'll have it at the next council meeting.
I don't necessarily need the garage door open and shut, just for normal daily stuff.
Yeah, anything in there should be class 1 to 2. It's not.
Parameters for that.
Or
The door was replaced last year. I think the rail was getting corroded. Or I think that was already set in stone before I even started.
I don't remember if it was part of the previous project where we replaced the air handler and we did all of the stuff in there where I think the door might have had some pretty good corrosion on it and then that got replaced. But at the time, I think maybe the operator was still running, so we didn't touch that.
Yep.
On the check. Brian, do you remember if we replaced the door with that project or not?
I just noted that.
I don't remember. That's all right. They have been doing, I guess, since I've been here. Unless you have any other preferred vendors to. Look, inspection. But preventive maintenance.
Yeah, emergency release. So, yeah.
Fire station, shop, water plant, wastewater plant. The shed. Yeah,
I think I talked to Dan.
Dan, yeah,
You live in town?
I think we're outside of town, doesn't it?
That's who I thought that was.
You've saved me a couple times.
Power goes out. Keep that out.
Yeah, had that happen before.
We'll try to keep the rust complaints to a minimum. And I think we're again, this will be Brandon's second year, so we should, I know we got a few complaints last year, like. Kind of ruts in people's yards where the hydrants come out. I don't know, Steve got a couple of things, we're gonna do some pressure testing and flow testing. And it's kind of has a built-in diverter to it. So we should be pretty good.
Yeah, Jed, the other thing we talked about though is like some of those ones that are pretty tight where you don't really have an option, but it's gonna hit the I guess ground there, using the one on the back of the truck so it diverts into the street.
We still have the thing, we back the truck up, it goes right on the hitch. And then, as a hose, it goes from the hydrant to the truck, and then it just dumps it right out on the road. Which is nice too. Yeah.
Bring up those. Is there still a hose?
Yeah, I did with that, I saw that.
It's been used, been here for weeks.
Yeah.
I saw that too.
So that was. That's all.
I believe that's the host
MJ,
isn't it?
MJ. So the Alliance project for them to get water for, I guess, watering across the town for in different spots there. They've been getting water from that hydrant. As
They
far
will
as I
be here
know,
for several months.
they, I guess, come in once a week to pay for their, is it once a week?
It's once a month.
Okay, once a, pay their,
Yeah, they have like 6 crews that are working. So they're turning in their gallons monthly.
I think it should be.
so, okay. You said it's about storing the hose? I can talk to them about having that removed.
So we have briefly thought about putting in a, this is probably a little bit out of way yet. So we used to send down at the driveway for the waste plant, in the city shop, to use that hydrant. Well, years of that happening, I don't think people operate the hydrant correctly, so they don't open it all the way. So a hydrant's not a throttle valve, I guess. So now the hydrant is cracked. So instead of sending people there, I've been trying to have them just get it where they're closest to the hydrant.
And that's, I'm able to look that for a one time thing that if it was my house, I would want
Right.
it to sit.
Right.
That's the other thing. If that might be just worry. We need to get it.
Replace.
Yes.
Yep.
So.
It works, it's just, it's a son of a bitch to open.
Yeah.
And that's been on it, I have it on the list.
Yeah. So, Jed, I think to your point though, is talking about like a bulk sale of water station.
A bulk loading station, so. You say Kelowna had one?
I don't know
I
if
think they do.
Kelowna does, but you can use,
Somebody said something, some fancy deal, got a little credit card machine, you do it, you fill up whatever you're using, and then it charges you right there, and you pay for it right there. Yeah, we've been trying to figure out if it's worth the upfront to building, the upfront cost, if it would be worth. You know, if it paid for itself.
I don't know if it's fair to say like I don't know if it's fair to use our current consumption of bulk water sales, just because it's not convenient, typically just contract.
Yep.
Talk to MJ about getting it moved.
Thank you.
Ready? All right, it started at the wellness center, but we just continue to assist with funding cycle as we're getting closer to the bond referendum and vote. So I'll continue this just pull on the group with the virtual grant application. And then we also did have a very positive meeting with Iowa Department of Ag Minister in Alaska about stormwater and grant funding regarding stormwater practices that might be in place on site. And we see very optimistically chance of certainly getting some of that money. So we have an on-site meeting on that later this month as well, which is part of just kind of the application process that grants is later in November, and say November 1st, so that's good. So still working a couple of different angles in terms of funding assistance and getting additional dollars in for that project.
Grant application's been submitted.
Yeah.
I've been working with OPN on finalizing the mailer. It's gonna be going out later this month. And yeah, that's the big one. Yes, you mentioned the IDA ALS stormwater grant. So that's the main thing right now between now and bond referendum.
Yep.
So no, that's the grant actually isn't due until I might have just closed at like 6 p.m. tonight,
Yeah.
but I think typically they follow up within the next like couple weeks after about scheduling. They'll do like I don't know when the board will get together to review it, but they'll say, hey, we'd like to invite you to present. You're like chosen to come present to the board, and then they'll give us a date for that. So I don't know what date that will be yet. But
Will be there
Wednesday. So we probably will find out end of this week.
positive, but you know,
Yes, I'm just.
I think there is, you know, remember it, Bill,
I think we're gonna have a pretty,
right,
we should have, I mean, for support of the application, I think it would be a good idea that we have a pretty good supporting group there. Because this is a community project, if we can get, not to be, have too many cooks in the kitchen, but also I think just showing the support for the project would be hopefully beneficial towards their decision on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you for having your associates, so.
Terry Lane, went through, did punch list walkthrough, there's, I think, knocked out about every item on that punch list, I'm pretty sure. And verify that it's already down here, but I drove by there as well. For the meeting, I think we're looking really good out there. We had it come to negotiate of some of the erosion control, do a little more grading and seeding, and also for a day, remove that erosion control. We do have, we're working with Cole and Brian on some, bit of cold patching on some of those areas between some of that, new concrete and that existing asphalt for that ground. So that's getting done, and then there are some pavement markings from the old crosswalk on Thetford.
They should be gone now.
Are they gone? I didn't even notice it today, so maybe they are gone. I didn't notice it.
There's like a lot of sand in the street up there.
Yeah,
I didn't know if they should clean up and put some on back.
I think we can look at maybe getting those street cleaners.
Or kids walking, like somebody's got to hit the brakes on things.
I think it's probably gonna be, I know we could get the street cleaner from, the street sweeper from
Yeah.
Kelowna and get that sucked up as well. We have the whole town, probably after construction probably needs to be cleaned up too, so it would probably be a bad idea to get that for a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, all those old crosswalks should be removed as of today.
Yeah, and then I'm saying if there's any other questions, we do the application number 3. Right in there, we should take everything up to, well, you know, it takes everything up to date, all it, like, there, we came with the other. So, project track really well, even budget, within budget.
on still, but if we're gonna be doing additional signage out there.
Like for the school specifically, yeah, we talked about that too. It really falls on the school. I know Colts had some special communication. I have that on my list actually to reach out to the superintendent as well.
I meet with Spencer sometime the next couple of weeks. Yeah, a couple weeks from now.
Yeah.
October 1st.
Just. But
Yeah, they're very clarifying and directional. Second class. They were trying to follow in their process or policy. Yeah. Thanks.
I think that's in school.
We feel this, we feel this. Because we don't know what their plans were in that phone, but they're, I know.
Yeah, I'll talk with Spencer here soon. I can reach out to Jane, but there is the only signage what we would have left. Brian's ordering street signs, so it'll be a Cherry Lane, Pletfer, Cherry Lane, Schneblin, and then we'll also be ordering Riverwood Foundation recognition signs to put on each end of the street. Small signs to put on the stop sign, just as recognition for their contribution to the project, to the municipal grant. So.
Sure. Sure, we didn't want to. So I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know. Because she said, well, you're supposed to park over here, which to me is that the city property where they're parking, right?
Say that one more time, like where they're, so yeah, that's the wellness alley. Yeah,
Sure.
That. So.
I mean, we can certainly work with the school to, even if they need to get signage down the street too, so people who are going to the school can be indicated which way they need to go to, yeah, no, I can talk with Jane and Spencer about that.
I wanted. Where it should be.
Brian, I thought that super project would, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was awesome. Yes.
Yes, yes.
It's used a lot.
Yeah.
I'll say the contractor did
Yeah,
it.
it was a good job.
We do.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've got pay out, everybody has for 12,000, we are getting $11.00.
Brian, are you anticipating final acceptance close out at the next council meeting? Or what
Yeah.
would you think of that? I was thinking, considering that we're pretty much everything else is taken care of.
Well,
Any discussion? And now we'll take a roll call vote on that. Mills. Yes. Schneider. King. Rogers.
It's the ballpark pickleball courts. So they're actually going to be doing the color surfacing here this week. So it should soon as tomorrow, we'll be seeing them on site.
They did the car washes.
Yep, so they're getting all prepped today and should be on the site tomorrow for that. Cool. Yeah, so it'll be exciting to see that go down. That'll take place to wrap up here and by the end of the week.
Early next year.
Yeah, I would say that's a good question. I assume they are, but I am, I'm the type of house on that, but I think everything's ready. I think everything's lined up and ready to go with this sort of thing. Yeah, I believe as you can see, backfill graded, get prep there, ready. We do have, change over number 2 back at you here tonight after a number of different calls and, discussions with the contractor. If you remember, everything was like $9,500. After the last next meeting, I talked to them further, we came back to $8,500. It still didn't make sense to me. So we had some more discussions and, ultimately came the 6,400. We did that based on time of materials that were needed out there and documented out there by. So, a lot better, more in the range of where it should be and should have been. And, yeah, I think things look good out there.
This amount is also, if you remember the last council meeting when we asked for directions on what would be a reasonable amount that city council would be okay approving. This is in line with what that direction was given. This is work that's already been done.
Yep.
So based off the direction the last council meeting, I gave a verbal approval. This would be okay. This is a formal approval of this.
We knew that was within that we wanted.
It was number 2, file for the chemical, mechanical. It was on the ballpark. And then on the south. Then so.
You know why they had to do that? It's outside excavating, we just basically had to cover it the same.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, yes, we ended up having them take care of that and so on that other area by, where we had some class, everything else that we covered all.
Everything the same. Those,
Yeah. Oh, I believe I can't have a back and forth conversation I had.
yeah, well, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and so, second. Ultimately, like I said, it was tracked by hours and loads. So. it's legitimate.
Discussion. We vote to approve Robertson, King, Schneider, and Mills. It's approved.
On front of you, you'll have the application, number 3 on that, to get everything again, up to current, and up to speed, where they're at. That's in the $96,696.29. Again, work that's been verified and completed with retainage still, and obviously with help on that as well. Thanks for the answer to your questions.
See, the application to proper technical and mechanical. Right. 96, 96, 29. I'll second. Any discussion on that?
Brian, do you anticipate one more pay application before we would have our final retainage release?
Yeah, yes,
you still- Yeah, I guess we would have left for,
we'll have the,
I guess, surfacing, all the installation punch list.
they should have it completed by then. There may be 2, but I don't think of, yeah, once the sort of thing gets on this week, that fencing, they will be.
That's fine.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And well, I was just gonna say, we have Steve down and Steve within this window. So we were waiting for this kind of get real quick these last few days. And said, let's just wait for that flux, which is coming here later this week. So if we say, yeah. Yes, yep. So yeah, I would put one more and then three.
Anything else? If not, Heath Snyder, Chief, by Robertson. The website I might have was just CDBG, now with under validation, continuing to move along slowly. I know it's, you don't see a lot, it is getting done. I will say, the last progress meeting I was at, the property owners didn't know their appreciation for the manner in which Cornerstone is doing this versus some downtown remodeling activity we have really been tear out everything. Plywood and board up windows, doors, and obviously some real appealing to customers. I think, being there. So I know it's a little more laborious and not able to be able to see much progress maybe at one time, but I do think, I said progress made known that they do appreciate this effort that's going through this way. The storefront materials are on order. They're like 16-week order time for the fall. Probably halfway through that now. And so once those are in, then you'll really start seeing a lot of changes. Some of that was just material order, getting the colors and materials selected, and then that order has been set in place. So once those come in here the next couple weeks, you'll see a lot more progress being made there. But they are working on it, and they are a little away, just not as obvious to the general public. Also.
Yeah, so we talked about last week, based off of the pay application, it was a fairly small pay application. We did material selections about month and a half ago, and we're waiting on those. So once that goes, we'll be moving.
There is two, I don't remember, I know this before, but with that part of the funding and part of the CDBG process, somewhere in that 30-50% payment, there's a requirement actually to come in a progress to city council and kind of thing like a public hearing, but just the contractor to that, just give a progress update as part of the requirements. So certainly questions at that time, but once some of this material, like I said, you'll see a pretty big bulk of that pay and we'll get there pretty quickly and then get across that. All the any other questions or concerns? I agree with I believe and appreciate it.
Sound a little better.
Thank you, okay.
All right. So here is the long awaited fee schedule here. So I've taken all of our ordinances and I went through old resolutions and also looked at things that needed to be increased. And these are recommendations in front of you. Anything you'll see here that is, say, per contract is established in that contract for that service, or if it says RMC, that's our Riverside Municipal Code. So that'll quote a section of our code where that is determined. So until a change is made to the code, that section, we wouldn't be able to change that pricing. Anything that is blank or states a resolution can be updated and will be updated in a bulk manner through future adoptions of the schedule fees. So this makes so that all of our fees, we can track the versions of it more easily. And it's also easy to just have this one document on our website or here in City Hall. It's just a lot more administratively functional and a lot more friendly to the community on where things are located. So you will see some changes. Actually, I didn't highlight all the changes in here, but all of these things are, let's see here. You'll see the property maintenance code table of fees under the orange public safety section. That is a section that is mentioned in one of the ordinances that we will hopefully do our last reading and adopt tonight. And then let's see here. I didn't touch anything on traffic and parking violations. I did make some changes to our peddler solicitor and transient merchant permits. I found that we were charging a lot less than most other communities, and then another, I guess, based off of community feedback, hearing from residents, the consensus that I've heard, obviously this is a portion of the community that's complained about it, but it seems like there's several residents who don't enjoy having solicitors or door-to-door sales. So I think we um, make it worth their while to do business here. So then we end up with, hopefully, if someone's going to be getting a permit, they're more serious about the business they're doing. And but anyways, display fireworks permit that is for, like, say, like rack or the casino when they've done their display launches, um fireworks sales that we have done at Come and Go or at Casey's. Yeah, Casey's. No, yeah, Casey's during the summer. That would fall under the peddler solicitor transient merchant permit. Let's see here. The urban livestock permit, I highlighted that one in yellow for us to review. So currently, we've, I guess in the past, we've done an urban chicken permit. We've gotten requests from residents on bees. So I do have a ordinance samples that our city attorney sent to me to review, to look at on how we could adopt or allow for urban livestock, urban apiary. I guess when I say livestock, it primarily just refers to chickens, ducks, and bees. But anyways, there's a cost for us to do that program. No, that'd be a one-time application fee.
I can help it.
You could. You could. Let's see, major fee changes are gonna be the building permits. So application fee was $35, now 50, is what I'm proposing here. And then I've adopted, Kelowna's, scale for valuation. Before we had, segments of valuation, and it was one set price. So it's not really, it doesn't change or grow with the valuation. And you'll see it kind of, the more valuation it is, I guess, progressively gets smaller proportion of what the permit would be. However, if you look at what a property that would have been of $1 million in valuation before would have been $1,700 in a permit fee, and this is $4,276 dollars at a decimal there, 50 cents there. But there's a significant amount of cost that we would have. Honestly, right now, there's a significant cost in our building permit and inspection program that we're not currently covering the costs, and this would go a long ways towards doing so. But like I said, these are other than starting at $50, Kelowna starts at 35. The rest of this is on board with Kelowna, so we're not really doing anything different there, and it makes it a little bit easier for Terry as well, working for both communities. I also simplified this from a residential and commercial and industrial valuation to just one. That's how the International Building Code recommends it. That's how Kelowna does it. And I think simplicity is one thing that I think make this a little more usable for everyone. And there really isn't a whole lot of there's like a $250 offset between residential and commercial and industrial before. So we're not talking a ton of money, especially when you get these bigger projects. Also, let's see. I did add a spectrum of fees for things such as priority or inspection or review. So if it's less than 2 business days, because if we're going to incur costs for Terry to take a priority on something, we should be able to recoup that, cover our costs. And inspection outside of business hours, additional plan review, those type of things. The whole point of this was just trying to improve upon our fee structure and making sure that we're able to cover our cost of delivering services. Sorry, side note, back under the property maintenance code table, talking through Dan with our grass, vines, and weeds ordinance. So with a notice by publication only, technically, if we see a property that's out of compliance, we've already done the publication, we could I guess call someone or do it ourselves to mow the grass and charge them a fee for that. My preference would be that we issue an RFP and get some bids from local contractors who would be willing to support or provide those services, that we would I guess confirm what a competitive rate is, and then we would work through, they would know that they'd be able to provide those services for us. And then, so that way there would not be any complaints about, overcharging for prices, because we already with the competitive pricing to identify, who's gonna be best there. But through that notification by publication only, we're not obligated to do any kind of door hanger or a letter. We could just take care of it. However, if we did go through the process of putting out door hangers, the code does allow for reasonable administrative fees. So in this case, a $25 door hanging fee, as a way to notify someone and hopefully curb that behavior before it has to get mowed by a contractor. I think that allows us to be a bit better at enforcing this, and kind of streamlines our nuisance abatement process for weeds, vines, and brush. So, let's see here. Another improvement, I added a permit valuation basis. Before this, there wasn't an established valuation matrix. So you kind of went off of the whim of what the permit, I guess, applicant put. And this gives a objective metric on if your property is, say, for a finished area, 1,000 square foot, you would value that at $94 a square foot, making it 94,000, and they would use that amount to determine your permit. So everything is spelled out. There kind of lessens that room for error to happen, or manipulation to occur. So, and also being that this is approved by resolution, it makes this very easy for us to update in the future, or any recommendations to change. So, comments, concerns? Colonnas there, which are taken from, I believe, the 28 version of the International Building Code. Yes.
Yeah.
To recover that. I mean, look at this other situation, but that's what they think.
The initial example I think of for this is, so like fire plans or fire, like, so we have a contractor that we had an agreement with prior to me being here. I think it was entered in 2020 or 2021, but I don't know the name off the top of my head who does it, but when we have something like a commercial development that would require a sprinkler system, a commercial fire system, that would have to be submitted there for review, because that's not something Terry would do or is capable of doing, or David prior. So in that case, when we use someone like that, we're able to recoup our full cost. Plus, if we have an administrative cost of that as well for ourselves to do. So if, say, myself or Stephanie takes time in coordinating that, we're able to pass that on for the appropriate cost.
Yeah, I mean, you understand, there's just, I think, different times we put a
Yeah.
lot of finances into education and their device, so I wonder.
And the first thing is establishing it, that we're going to charge a fee for it. Because I don't know if we've ever had, or at least so a situation, I don't know, Lois, of what the specifics of that situation was. Um, I don't know, like, is that a project you said on the old highway there? Yeah, no, so this is more for like the specialized times. So say if we ever have to bring in like the state inspector for something, if it's a project that's larger than for electrical stuff, that's larger than what Terry can do. We would charge the fee of what the state would charge us for that, so we make sure that that cost gets. I don't.
Needs to be in the ordinance or something.
We wouldn't need to do it by ordinance, we could do it by resolution with this to establish that. Um. I'm not sure like circumstances of when that style of cost share would be applicable. This is more for, um, there's an active permit on a project and the inspection is solely for the benefit of that property. Not so much like a preliminary development where there's potential benefit to the city. So I think in that case, you could discuss a cost share on it if it's, say it's exploratory develop, I guess, looking at infrastructure or something like that, that's certainly like a time where that could occur. But
I see all.
trying to think, I mean, that would, I think we would, Lois, I think we would take those development type of expenses on more of a case by case scenario. Just I because those situations are kind of unique in nature. And if it's something where, say, the city doesn't own the land, like there's no benefit for us of a property sale for us to recoup any additional funds. Like there's, yeah, I think those are, I think, more dependent on the situation where I think it maybe we should, at least this gives us at least a base to recoup all costs and we can negotiate back.
I think it's just. Maybe it's a perception or something. If that.
I can already note that one. Yeah. This,
I'm just saying. It looks better.
Absolutely. if this is also, you'd like to establish that intent to make that as, if you're looking to, if you're, I guess, comfortable with approving this tonight, are comfortable with, say, recommending I add something on that, I can be happy to include something in there that would cover, I guess those preliminary costs like development. Is that what you're thinking of those? I agree. Yeah.
Maybe it's. Or that. If getting. And we, so. It's a conversation for now.
You guys probably might look at it and think maybe the engineering study and maybe something.
There is that value left. Lois, yeah, the other thought, I guess, last thought on it is like, if we had, I don't know if it would be some kind of like, I don't know what you call it, not like it's like a development application or something like that, but essentially what it would do, you could enter in an agreement that like of what the anticipated costs are and what the cost share that would be. I don't know.
Well, let's just put it this way, it's something I'm sure Dan's running into when we're talking about.
Asked about that.
What that is. So.
Cost of help. No, that's a good idea. Thank you for mentioning that. I hadn't thought about that one. And I guess lastly, my intent was that this would be something that we would review each fiscal year. We would approve prior to the next fiscal year. So I need to update it so where it says fiscal year 2026 fee schedule. But considering that we have, say, our solid waste and recycling contract that updates, or I guess changes pricing on the fiscal year, I think this would be something to put as part of our annual approvals. And that we just continue to revisit this because I think in the past because it's been difficult to change our fees, we haven't done it. And then we just stay stuck at the same revenue levels and we can't do that. I mean, we want to offer our services at a reasonable and affordable amount, but we also have to cover our costs so we can keep providing them because they are important. So. Their concerns, comments. Yes.
That's charters and fees that are just, yeah.
That schedule. I can update that, so it would just be reflecting any kind of fees in this schedule fees that is set by resolution. So like any of, you could say the building permit things or peddler, so it would just repeal those and say that those are no longer the I guess, can you say that one time, Alan? Sorry, I couldn't hear you with the cough. Yep. Remain, yep, okay. Let me do that. And then you also suggested that specificate that so it refers to fees established in this schedule. That would be the clarification. Okay.
Think that your administrative fees.
So that administrative, let me pull it up.
So it's at. Well,
So that would be for the contracted work. So say if it's $100 for us to mow someone's lawn, it'd be $105.
like you saw, like.
We feel is. I think another piece of our ordinance, it has to be reasonable. So I mean, is.
You worry about being too reasonable. But I think my percent really. It costs us $300. Putting somebody's property in. And
I could set a do like 5% administrative fee minimum, whatever the minimum $30. The thing is, I also the primary objective with this is to be able to kind of offload this from me to Terry to where the, I guess any kind of grass, weeds or vines violation, he would be able to put up door hangers as needed. Those would tear off the bottom, those would all be $25 a piece for the notice. And then with this new notice, I guess, way of going about it, it would be much easier to where Terry could track the list of them and then report those to whoever we selected as a contractor. And then those would be able to, we would get a bill and then we bill that all out. So hopefully, I guess the idea was that it would minimize the amount of administrative time involved in it. I see what you're saying. I think maybe this equitable solution here would be to put a minimum on that administrative fee, so at least we're covering a portion of that, while also not pigeonholing ourselves to a situation where, say, if it's a large tens of thousands of dollars for immediate property and it's only $25 or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I just. When we get to this point, I would rather have, make sure our fees are covered, but also. Like, I'm not enough to deter
Doing
anything. My over 5% of staff. I agree with that. Yeah, one thing I'll be specific about what it is. And leave it up to, the interpretation. Issues with that as well. But if I say this. No, instead of asking on betting. Efficient way to handle it.
I will also say, this is, I think, a situation where better is better, where if you've comparatively, hopefully this new approach, this will still be an improvement on revenue generation compared to what we've currently been doing. And but I mean, I'm open to suggestions on a higher amount too. You know. We haven't. We haven't sent any, like, I've had this. Well, I'll also say,
I think. Better is better. But let's start.
that's,
So 10%, say we hire. Somebody to come in to clean up somebody's yard. And that quote comes in, it's $300. Do we think that 10%, do we think that $30 covers holes at this time? Because I'm.
Well, like Terry, too.
Unfair too.
I will also say it's for most of these things of like, I don't know if it would take, if you were to do like a billable hour, I don't know if it would end up for most like weeds, vines and brush cases. It would take a cumulative hour of, say, my time on that, of coordinating that. But I don't know, I mean, like a 10 or a 15% would at least cover a portion of the time there. And I don't know that. So I met with him. No, I met with Dan last week and we talked about this. And he was probably more like erring on the side of caution, especially when it comes to administrative fees. So what he mentioned to me is that, so the Iowa codes, like when it comes to, say, utilities, they're much more forgiving when it comes to late fees or additional charges in those, but when it comes to nuisance abatement, it needs to be like clearly, so like the administrative fee, so it cost, so it needs to be itemized, like this is what the cost of postage, the envelope, time. It needs to have more of a heavy emphasis on reasonable rather than punitive. And the place for punitive fines and things like that is through the use of like a municipal infraction or municipal citation, where that's something magistrate would determine and fine at that point. So this is more for covering cost rather than punitive. So that is why I guess I was shying away from being heavy-handed with it, just because, as I guess I interpret, it's not, this isn't the place to um, fine, but rather cover costs. But to Ryan's point, though, 5% probably doesn't cover our true costs minimum. Minimum or just
$250 citation, 100 search.
And that's what I would say, if, like I said, no. Excellent. Different, what side? And for you to.
I think if I'm going to go into this and do this properly, we have to drop the hand. It's plain and simple. If they're not keeping their yard up and they know they need to, just learn it. Or not your crutch.
so
When you're talking.
the primary function. Yeah, so if there was, the administrative fee is primarily through door notices, mailings. If you get to the point where you're getting a door notice or a mailer, there's going to be administrative fee, a part of that. So that's supposed to cover our material and time, is what it's supposed to do. I will say we typically, when we would do those type of things, it'd be in bulk where you'd have probably several properties you're doing at a time, to where, you know, we might have 4 or 5 properties we're doing, that would be charged at $25. Plus, I guess this leaves you the opportunity to charge for postage or materials, things like that, but I guess.
This, where it make more sense to talk with the lawyer here when we're gonna have.
Yeah, I think like that, there's some of those things that would probably be beneficial to talk to Dan. And if we can just outright establish a, say, a fine.
City stuff for a minimal fee. So to me, like repeat offenders were mentioned, you repeat offend, well, your price is gonna go up. And you keep doing, Riverside is not in business of mowing your lawn for. But you need to be held accountable for your neighbors, yourself, city, whole 9 yards. So I don't know how aggressive you can get. I'm not worried about hurting anybody's feelings, because I'm tired of a lot of stuff, so.
Nor should you. I guess as this is presented right now, considering this is easily approved by a resolution for updates, and considering that, like, updating this would be beneficial, even the short term, even if we had to make another adjustment to it, are you guys okay with approving this tonight? And with further recommendations, we can make adjustments after the nuisance work session.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done that. Station.
26, sir.
Resolution 2025-69, resolution to adopt the fiscal year 2026 needs. With the changes in wordings.
Yeah. Who got that one? Let's skip one.
Discussion. The vote on the resolution.
Is there?
Let's see. Couple ordinances here. We did our first reading at the August 18th meeting. Unless anyone sees a reason to do a full reading of this tonight, there hasn't been any adjustments to this other than the we mentioned the creation of the schedule of fees, which I fulfilled that requirement with I guess the prior resolution. Anyone have any comments on chapter 52, the property maintenance code? Yeah. So I guess the motion at this point, so we've done the first reading, this would be the second reading. You could make a motion to waive and approve the second reading and then waive the third and adopt. That would be what you could do tonight. And then this would still need to be published and recorded.
Your name.
2025-01.
Second reading.
And then you would make a motion. I guess part of that motion would be to waive the third reading and pass for adoption.
Third reading. Do you have any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Vote on that. Mills, yes. Schneider, King, Rogers. Let's do the third reading, so.
Ready for adoption. Yep. This next we have chapter 162, weeds, vines, and brush. As we've talked, this changes to a notice by publication only, and then it also creates a program for like natural what's the specific term in here? I had it in there. It's yeah, basically it's native plantings within, gives property owners the right to do that with a permit and within certain restrictions of where they can do it, how tall it can be, how it's maintained, that sort of thing, and where it needs to be located. So that would be the two I guess major changes to our weeds, vines, and brush approach.
To approve the second reading. Ordinance number 2025-04.
Yes.
I would say many adjustments to this should probably be considered first reading.
Did we have adjustments to this?
For years and, okay.
No, I'm talking about the changes from our current ordinance to this one. Correct. Yeah. No, sorry about that. No. Nope.
Aye.
All right, next I have a resolution, to award contract for fiscal year 2025 audit services. Included in this, I put together a bit of a memo just to kind of, bring everyone up to speed on, costs. I did, send this out to 4 different, Iowa accounting firms to try to solicit some more, responses, and I did not hear back from any of them other than GBK. And these are firms that do business in other cities, so I'm not sure what happened there. But I guess overall, we're gonna need 3 years of audited financials. So if we end up, a bond is approved in November, in order to get our best bond ratings, which in this case is an indication of our risk, for us to be lent to. So, the best bond ratings mean lower interest rates for us. We completed the fiscal year 2024. That was a report sent in June. Fiscal year 2025, our anticipated completion is in January of 2026. And then for our 3rd year, which would be following this upcoming July, we would need to complete that as soon as possible. So we can get that before, say, if our bond passes in November, and we're gonna need to start expending off of that, that following fall. We would want to make sure we're able to get our 3 years of audited financials in order to get our best interest rate. However, if something were to happen, bond didn't pass in November, the pressure for us to get this done as soon as possible goes away, because we would at that point evaluate if we wanted to go after a bond a second time around or what. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But just wanted to show you that that's the reason why we are going audit for 3 years. So our fiscal year 2026 budget for this audit is 21,000. As I mentioned, I sent the RFP out to 4 Iowa accounting firms, plus had it published on our website. And let's see, I had in a recent Iowa City Managers Association Grapevine email thread, other small communities reported spending 12,500 to 27,000 for audits. Kelowna reported spending roughly $8,500 last year for an audit by this firm. And then I reached out to GBK to just talk about pricing and why that was lower than ours. And they assured me that Kelowna was likely they'll be coming up on a rate increase for this fiscal year. They haven't sent them that package yet. But theirs will be more in line with our submittal here. And then as part of their submission, I guess GBK submission, we don't need the compliance testing because we did not expend more than 750,000 in federal funds in that fiscal year. So due to this, the proposal by GBK would be $15,100, which last year was, I want to say, 14 or 15,000 as well. So we didn't really see a large jump in audit costs, but in general, our costs are in line with what other communities are paying. Even though I don't have 3 different submissions at least to verify this, but yeah. Questions, concerns? I want to say so. Might have been on, and I don't, without looking at the invoice in front, I guess having it in front of me, I don't remember off the top of my head. That was probably high. That was an estimate it was estimated, so. Okay. Yeah, so I guess last year we did a full audit. Dustin was here for, I think, 2 separate occasions. He was here for most of one whole day, and then the other one he was here briefly for some information, but I also think we've been able to curb some of I guess the cost of transportation by working with them. They have a request for documents. We're able to scan that. We did quite a bit of that last year on getting information over to them. One thing, I guess, a strategy Kelowna and Wellman have employed on to try to maintain or stabilize audit costs is look at doing multi-year agreements with a firm where they can lock in pricing for a few years at a time. That's something GBK has done, and other firms do as well that we could look into. So
It's my point is that they probably had a similar number last year, and they just charged us for that.
Stephanie doesn't think that it was.
None of the invoices were itemized.
So I would check on.
Okay. Itemize that out. No, not for the amount of time of year. Atlantic's a little bit of a drive, but it's not that much of a drive. I guess with further clarification from GBK on the oh shoot, itemizing their expenses, making sure that gets reported this year, so we are billed for our services and I guess more clearly and making sure that we're not just paying that as a lump sum rather than an itemized basis. Any other concerns or anything like that before you had a recommendation to approve?
I'll make a motion to resolution 2025 that resolution to award contract with fiscal year 2025 office services. GBK noting that expenditures we itemized and not exceed 15. Additional discussion. No, it's actually a roll call vote. Actually, go Robertson, King, Schneider, Mills.
Right. One moment. All right, next item. I have a few estimates for the replacement of City Hall roof. This roof would have been put on, I believe, when this was retrofitted from a fire station into City Hall. We've had a little bit of leaking in the utility room. The last couple of years during heavy rains, we've had the roof inspected and based off of the, I guess we've gotten recommendations it needs to be replaced, and we have several estimates here. I actually got one more would have been Friday evening after the packet was already sent out, but I'd like to consider them as well. So all of them are in that like 43 to 47 square shingles. They are I think most of these are, yeah, all of them are quoting Owens Corning. I think the duration shingles would be doing new tar paper, um, all the installs, removal of the old shingles, labor, all of that. I think it's the only thing to be noted is if they go in and remove the shingles and they find more shingles underneath or something like that, there would be an additional charge for that, for labor and dump fees for that. But other than that, I had several estimates here. The lowest was one I got, um, and frankly, I'm not sure if we should consider it because it was sent out after the packet. It was made public, and these things are in here. So um, it is lower, but I also don't know if it'd be. I guess we could consider it, but I don't know if it's the proper thing to do. But
What's the other one?
it was. I received it Friday night after the packet was sent out, which means I guess it's not a competitive process per se that bids matter, but um, it was sent to me after the packet was made public. All these other estimates were made public, but
Oh, so it's not missing on here.
no, was just emailed to me, and that lowest one was for $16,035 from actually an outfit here in Riverside, Iowa Eagle Construction LLC.
Did you have a deadline?
These are just quotes, so no, it was just things we asked for to get quotes. We had a contractor stop by, take a look, and submit off of that. We have one from Brenneman Builders for 17,780, and then the rest of them escalate in price from there up until I think there's one for like 24,350. And there's one that submitted two quotes, and that was with two different I guess durabilities of shingles. Um, frankly, I think we shouldn't go to the additional expense of putting on longer duration shingles for this property as potentially looking at, the future expanding the wellness center and adding city offices up there. I don't know if it's worthwhile for us to, pay for an extra 10 years of roof life right now. So,
You just want to motion to on the award it to.
yeah, I mean, I at this I will say that Brennan Builders has came out here several times and done some repairs in the roof. Um, he's done great work. Be happy to work with him again. But then there's also 16,035 for um, the Iowa Eagle Construction LLC. Either one of them would be great. They both indicate the same amount, I guess, same line item repairs of removing, I guess, tearing off existing shingles, ridge vent caps, felt paper, remove all drip edge, remove old vents, pipe flashing, clean prep and throw all trash and dumpster, whole landfill, installation of Owens Corning shingles, colors to be determined, install drip edge around roof edges, add layer of ice water shield barrier around roof edges and vent pipes, cover roof surface with unrelated synthetic paper, install new pipe flashing boots, install ridge vent to hip areas for ventilation, add hip ridge caps to ridge vent, install starter strip along the rakes and eaves, and if damage played, found out, discuss property owner for replacement. That would be under kind of those incidental things that you can't know until you really tear it open. So, but
I guess,
nothing.
were they coming in now? Or?
Yeah, I have an email. Yeah, I put it out. They stopped by. They end up they reached out to Brian late last week because he called them, and I think they just got back to him on Friday, and then they stopped by, and then she didn't know it was earlier in the week, and asked if, hey, could I have this Friday to have it submitted in the packet, and then I didn't get it until the evening. So, but I also I think Nick Raymond had come out here a couple times, look at the roof, and I think did some repairs with that, like, free of charge. And um, I think we've been happy with the work he's done on that. But
My preference would be. Go on. Yeah, I'll make the motion to. Roofing contract at City Hall.
$17,700. Talk to Nick about getting that scheduled. All right. Next I have a some street maintenance work. It's crack sealing across town here. We got this a few months back. We went kind of back and forth on what do we actually need to be doing. Um, and they're still willing to honor the pricing with this. We tried to get some other quotes. We reached out to Hanson Asphalt. They weren't able to get us in with the schedule. They said they were able to fit us in this year. But Bargain was able to still do this work. And then after talking to Brian, it didn't seem like there's many other contractors that he knew of around the area that would be able to do this. But he also said the last time we had it done, it has lasted several years and ended up being all right. So Shamrock did not.
I guess my question is. Were they all on the same? Bathroom made or did those?
So I got this back after that. I saw the price on it, so I wasn't sure what to expect. And then I sent out a spec sheet to Hanson. Didn't hear anything back for several, like a couple months. And then I had Brian follow up with, so we can get this going. And then he finally got a response that they weren't able to do the work.
When are you wanting this done?
I wouldn't say any of it's like needs to be done tomorrow, but I would say between next spring would be.
Yeah, I really don't. Want to do it before.
So up here it says like just clarification, the city parking lot, that'd be Hall Park. That south section of Ella through there. Let's see, North Ella Street. There's also the option, we don't necessarily have to do all of it at once, but Brian and I did take a look at with Pelling's anticipated work we would have as well in the spring. Yeah, I think if we can look into Shamrock or if there's any other vendors about getting better pricing.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to do that. Okay. Well, that is fine.
Yeah, I think they were just coming 2000.
That is fine. Do you guys want an official motion to table, or we can?
I'll make a motion to the table.
Any discussion? Got it.
leaf pickup. Colbert Lawn Care is new this year doing leaf pickup. They wanted to send an estimate. It is quite a bit higher than so I guess the other email I had to I think what it is, some of those, if I have like a mail file, it won't put in the packet. Anyways, there should be another one in here. But yeah, Colbert's Long Hair, it's quite higher than what the Absolute who did it last year. They do it at $60 per man hour with a 3-man crew. So $180 per man, I guess per hour of leaf pickup is what they do. Last year we did 4 different dates of them going around town. And I think we ended up spending somewhere like $8,000 total for those 4 pickup dates. I think we're looking at if we schedule them, spreading them out a little bit more than last year, just to hit different leaf drops. But
Did they have an hourly rate that they were going by?
last year,
Yeah.
I
I mean, as far as that is listed out, so it all depends. On-
yeah, so Absolute was $60 per man hour. So with 3 men on a crew, 180 compared to Colbert at $100 per man hour, was $300. Oh,
Is absolute honoring their state. Hourly wage.
so actually I got from Chad here. So last year they charged us $55 per labor hour last year. He did mention that they sustained about $3,500 in damages to the vacuum from some material that was placed in the curb that was buried in leaves. So like sticks would do that to that type of machine. That was one of the driving factors in deciding like this probably wasn't worth us getting the equipment. It's specialized, and anyways, so they made an adjustment from $55 per hour to 60. So due to that, we shouldn't really see too much of a substantial cost increase for doing the same amount of work we had last year.
What's the total amount?
Like around 8,000.
I think if we're gonna talk about it, we need to see both up to date estimates. I mean, I
Okay.
still not sure what's gonna compare them to that.
I could send it to you guys real quick. Yeah.
We're saying we pay for the damages, or-
No, no. So they just upped their rate from 55 to 60. I guess my recommendation would be to just, if we would be okay with that amount, we can schedule we'd have a budgeted amount in our community beautifications ground maintenance category. That's for leaf pickup. And if you guys are okay with the similar amount of cost last year, 8,000, and we have that in the budget to be able to do it, if you're okay with that.
I'm okay with you making.
I have I guess I don't have a quote per se, but I have an email with him that gives the cost per hour for it. So
I would be more than okay with. You guys making that decision on it.
Over the machine.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
35.
we, if you're back, you. Yeah. Think that.
Yeah, the general expectation is that leaves are right to the curb, free of debris. So
And if it's full of sticks and stuff, then bypass it.
Yeah, I think that's their general how they approach it, but when it's hit underneath there, I don't think they probably saw it and just sucked it up.
You got things going all up and down the block and food, and you got a couple of sticks in it, and the rest of it's gonna be that way, and it's not supposed to be. Yeah.
I mean.
Big, for example, you go out there and you know, through it, all through it, still tight.
They, they should. The next year, you know, this is, something we're doing for them, it's. That's happening, then where it's happening. If it doesn't get picked up the next year. Blame it.
Yeah.
But that's just something that's,
The rules should be followed. It's just like having a burn pit on the trail. It's for Mother Nature waste. Yet everybody takes lumber and drywall, bags and everything down and runs it for everybody. So follow the rules. If it's supposed to be leaves, then that's what you're supposed to pick up. Fill it full of sticks and branches, then you don't get picked up.
Yeah. But I know.
It should be clear, hopefully. Yeah, with your chief.
Which, I guess,
Make a motion. Hold.
absolute. If, okay, I can work on scheduling that. Kevin Rose? The one the dates are expectations. Yeah. Okay. Stephanie, I guess I'll pass it over to you for the financials. Well, maybe. You got it.
I actually just have a question for council. Cole and I have kind of reviewed this and deliberated back and forth a little bit on the pause and more agreement that we have. The agreement that we have in place stipulates that we pay them $4,000. Historically, it looks like we've been paying them $7,000. I was able to find agreements that were both with Wellman and Kelowna that looks like maybe we were adopting that agreement as well, but I was not able to find a signed agreement. This is the last year in the agreement
The
for the $4,000. So just kind of wrapping up these, beginning of year payments that go out. Just kind of want to hear if we should really be paying the $7,000 out on that, or if we should be paying the $4,000 in the agreement. Yeah, it does have a kind of a stipulation in the agreements that were with the other two cities that it was due to that. And it kind of looks like that's what we've been following suit, but I was not able to find anything in writing that says why that we had agreed to and signed. I don't think we ever signed one.
of that.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe it was a verbal agreement. Yeah.
New one.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is the last year. This would be the last payment within this agreement, so.
Yep.
what was?
7,000. 7,000 what I put in the budget, that was also based off of previous expenditures. And I've learned since that I actually need to go, I can't just trust what we've spent in the past. It's important that we look through all of the agreements. I was assuming that's what the amount was set upon, and I don't know, but the other one that we came across was Iowa Township, paying, it was raised a donation for the cemetery for some maintenance they do there. We can't find anything in writing that stipulates how much we've contributed or where that began. Is there any guidance on that one?
How much? What?
It's like $5,000 or $6,000 per year to Iowa Township for mowing they do in the cemetery.
Okay. Side of the
Yeah.
road, not that side,
Yeah,
give them $5,000 a year.
Looks like it has progressively changed, and that was kind of one of the things as well. It went from like 3,000 to 5,000 to 5,500 to now 6,000, but we're not able to find an agreement for any period of time or anything in writing at all.
that was before the,
Yeah, I've not been able to locate any of that information.
So since that,
what it's been since. Christine, okay.
It doesn't look like, actually 6,000 was not paid out last year. He actually contacted us requesting that, so we would have owed,
At this point, 12,000. If
at this point, we owe
did that.
12,000.
I think that's something though we should have, if it's between two agencies, township, it should be a 28E agreement. I have not asked her, but we also went through all of our 28E agreements and did not find anything. We found the one for fire protection and all that, but not the cemetery. Megan, yeah,
who's even in charge of that?
Jim and Bev, and I don't know who the third one is.
It used to be like, but that's.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
And expenditures, so.
So we budgeted for 7. We have paid 7 the last few years. I think since we have an expiring 20E agreement, it would make most sense to just do an updated one that if our intention is to extend the terms of that we would work with Pause and More to basically repeal the old 20E agreement as part of the new one and have it replaced by a new agreement that lengthened the term and updated to what a mutually agreed upon amount is for it, considering that they should be getting close to, I think, the building. I don't know if it's that 7,000 should be a perpetual amount if that was determined to be, that extra 3,000 was determined to be, specific for the building of the new.
If you go back. You'll find it.
I'm sure we did, but
We did look through, we should be able to locate them.
it's okay. Yeah, make a new request. The only thing I wanted to bring to your attention was on page 62, you'll look at the treasurer's report that shows fund balances, or you'll see capital projects as a negative amount, and that's our transfer that we made wasn't posted at the time of this report. So that came from casino and went to capital projects to cover that. So we were brought up to speed there. Stephanie, any other comments? Okay. back to city council. Closing comments?
We're all get on the public food out there in the parking issues. Where they actually handle between those few property owners or where cars parking on the street. We've had a few, this just been plastered, it's clear out to the stop signs on Highway 22 with cars.
Alan and I met with, I guess, Mike Lombard and then, the Woods over there to talk about, I guess, between the two neighbors there of how they handle parking.
Were they supposed to be monitoring that themselves?
Well, there, yes, as for the event, but, I think this comes down to where we've, at one point, I think with the development of it, there was permission given to them for, I guess, to use the street, on-street parking for their, doesn't necessarily mean it has to continue. But the, I guess, part of that meeting was I need to work with the Woods and the Lombard to, I guess, Mike Lombard and I guess figure out parking over there. Have not gotten to it since that meeting, but they are also made aware that this is also not a situation that's likely to be continued to allow. Lois, I did see some pictures you sent from over the weekend of the amount of vehicles through there. So I would say the actions that they took for the parking there wasn't uncharacteristic of I don't know if it would be previous guidance given to by city council. But obviously development has changed out there, the amount of traffic has changed. And it is kind of up to them to figure out where they need to go forward with their parking. So at this point, they're the only clean solution to this, I think, really is primarily just to limit parking, and then they have to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of it.
Yeah,
So
last time we talked, we were. Not what the solution, and what somebody called me.
on the edge.
I'm just saying there was. James if it's one down. I'm just saying, you know. They were rounding the corner, not saying this, and I realized it's after hours, but it's just. Yeah, it's.
As their trailer park gets installed and there are people down in there, that's when it's gonna become a lot more important issue. Papers and everything, you know, let's put this on.
That's why I think everything's like.
Thank you. I don't know. Top of my.
I'm just saying. I guess like the thing, like thing that you see that is the minutes ones or what. I mean, people were up to me about that too. That they have, that do taking place something parking out there. So I,
You say it one more time, sorry.
okay, like, for instance, when somebody was talking about the parking situation, you know, with the building that people, you know, did they have a permit, you know? So I'm just saying, I need to go back to check the history of that, but I'm thinking, it's nice to kind of know what permits are going out, so.
I'll talk with Terry about what he can do for reporting.
I mean, it doesn't have to be wrong. I mean, but it was nice to know what that's ahead.
Yeah. I guess based off of Terry's operation, I think we would be the ones that would need to have a system that would be able to track all of it. Right now, we've kind of been doing it as a file of this permit. There's all the documents here with the application here, but there's not necessarily like a status part of it. David did have an access system, but I will also say like access systems aren't always the easiest to upkeep and maintain. So I think for us to get better reporting, that it might be also an area we need to look at, expansion of some kind of tool, or process to track that and make it easier for both nuisances and building permits.
Well, like, just what he's been doing.
There's, let's talk about this later, but there's no way to have a permit.
No,
There
that would be,
not. Yeah.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
right, is that a second? Thank you, everyone.